The story begins with a girl named Goria, who is a poor girl and received a scholarship to a school that only wealthy people attend. One day, while sitting alone in class, another girl approached her and asked why she was sitting there alone. Goria told her that she hated interacting with the rich students and the arrogance that filled the room. This girl, named Hannah, decided to befriend Goria, and thus Goria began to share stories about the school. She told Hannah that there was a game called the Red Card, where anyone who received this card would be taken to the F4 headquarters and bullied. At that moment, a student received the card, and Goria and Hannah rushed over to see what kind of harm the F4 group would inflict on that person. Goria, very angry, shouted from the balcony, calling F4 a group of cruel bullies. As she left, Rin, the fourth member of F4, appeared after hearing her. On the other hand, Goria went to her friends and told them about the F4 group, leading them to search for information about them online. Tam was the first, the leader of the group, the most powerful and wealthy of them all. His mother owned the entire school. The second member was Kevin, who also came from a rich family and owned many companies. The third was MJ, who was a troublemaker because his family was a well-known mafia in the city. The fourth was Ren, who was also wealthy, but unlike the others, he disliked bullying and enjoyed drawing. The next day, Goria was at a restaurant with Hannah when she accidentally spilled food on Tam's shoes. Terrified, she begged him to forgive her. Tam, feeling smug, told her he would forgive her, but first, she needed to clean his shoes. Goria, losing her composure, told him to stop talking like that. Tam then approached her and surprisingly told her he admired her bravery before leaving. Goria went to her locker to find the red card that was there, but she ran into trouble and they started hitting her. Later, Goria managed to escape to the upper balcony, but she fell into Rin, who immediately helped her hide. Rin gently told her to be careful, and then he left. After he left, Goria wondered why he had helped her. She stayed on the school balcony until many students came to bully her, but again Rin appeared and helped her. When Tam found out what had happened, he became very angry because he hadn't told anyone that Goria had been bullied all this time. MJ explained that they did it because it was the first time a girl had received the card, but a furious Tam told them that from now on, Goria was his enemy. After that, when Tam arrived home, his mother scolded him, telling him how he would manage their companies if he couldn't handle a small school. Meanwhile, Goria's family noticed their daughter was in a bad situation, and they decided to buy her new shoes, which made her very happy. The next day, the students took her old shoes and brought them to Tam, who cruelly cut them and threw them in the trash. Poor Goria cried over her shoes, and feeling sad, she picked them up. Tam watched her, puzzled by her behavior, and then Goria hit Tam, shouting that she wouldn't tolerate such things anymore. Everyone was shocked by what happened, and someone recorded it. After that, for the first time in his life, Tam was hit, and he kidnapped Goria, but when they brought her to his house, they put makeup on her and brought her to Tam. Tam then told her that the cost of her makeup was $5 million and also gave her a car worth $10 million, asking her to show off in front of the school while everyone watched, wanting her to say he had beaten her. However, Goria, shocked by his words, hit him in the face and began to insult him. Tam angrily told her what she wanted, whether it was 10, 20, or 30 million, he could pay it, but before she could respond, his mother came and took him out of the school entirely. The next day, Goria saw terrible comments about her, which made her very angry, and she went to the balcony to shout, as was her custom. Rin came out and began to calm her down, and then Goria thanked him, telling him he was different from his friends because he always helped her. Then Goria went back to her work and told her friends that she really liked Rin. Even though he was part of the F4 group, he was kind and easy to befriend. That night, she went out with Hannah, who was apologizing for getting Goria into trouble, but Goria told her that her friends helped her or not. Then Goria saw her friend standing and looking at a big poster. She told him she also loved the famous model Mira and wanted to be like her one day. After having a nice conversation with Rin, Goria returned to Hannah to go home, unaware that Tam was watching them. The next day, Hannah was shocked when she saw the red card in her bag, and the students quickly brought it to Tam. Tam told her to cut her hair, but Goria shouted at him and ran toward him. Tam confidently smiled and handed Goria the machine, telling her to cut her hair herself instead of Hannah doing it, or he wanted her to show off in front of everyone, but Goria, feeling empowered, refused to do so and took the machine to cut her own hair. However, as usual, Rin appeared and stopped the show at the last moment, causing Tam to become very angry and disappointed, feeling humiliated. After that, a group of girls, who seemed to hate Goria, approached her before going over to her. They told her they really admired how she defended her friend and invited her to a welcome party for the famous model Mira, who was Rin's friend and the organizer of the event. On the other hand, Goria couldn't believe that today she would finally see the person she admired. When she got there, the girls started showing their hatred for her, telling everyone that she was acting as if she hated Tam, but followed him everywhere, even to this party. Goria was shocked by how they were deceiving her, and then Tam and his friends entered the room, so Goria quickly ran outside toward the pool to avoid being seen, but the girls followed her and spilled food on her clothes. Then Tam saw what happened and became very angry. As he was about to scold them, Rin arrived and helped Goria clean her clothes. The surprising thing was that Mira defended Goria and threw the girls into the water. After that, she took Goria to give her new clothes, telling her that Rin had told her a lot about her. Goria stood before everyone, dressed nicely, and made everyone in the room amazed by her beauty. Even Tam was surprised. Then Rin approached Goria to dance, but an angry Tam stopped him, shouting that she was his enemy and it was wrong for her to attend his party. Rin then fought Tam for a while to separate them, and Goria pushed Tam away, but since they collided, she accidentally kissed him, which startled her, and she left the entire party. After that incident, Tam kept thinking about what had happened. He privately admitted to himself that she was different from other girls, and he might have feelings for her, especially since she had rushed toward him. On the other hand, Goria went to Rin's house to return Mira's clothes, but overheard Rin arguing that he liked Mira and didn't want her to come back. Goria was feeling overwhelmed and left the place, crying. Then Tam started following Goria everywhere. He even bought her a school bus so she could be alone with him, but Goria argued with him and left. Afterward, a beautiful girl approached and told Goria that she was Tam's sister. She then took Goria to Tam. While at school, Goria was feeling sad for Rin, who was even more upset about Mira. She went to Rin and begged him not to leave, but Mira refused her request. After Goria left, she encountered Rin, who angrily scolded her for teaching Mira like that. Goria shouted back that if Rin truly cared, he should stop and come back to her. Then it was time for Mira to travel. The F4 group and Goria came to say goodbye, and Rin approached Goria, telling her that he had thought about what she said and now wanted to travel with Mira. After thanking her, he kissed her on the head, which made Tam feel jealousy for the first time since the girl he liked was getting close to another guy. Tam then negotiated with Rin before he traveled. Then we see Tam asking his sister how he close to Goria. His sister told him not to shy and he has to tell his feeling to Goria. Tam then appeared on the TV outside the restaurant, asking Goria to go outside with him. Goria didn't believe him and thought he would bully her as usual. The day came when Tam asked her to go outside, but she wondered what would happen if Tam really was waiting for her. She quickly went to the place he mentioned, only to find he had been there for a long time. Tam yelled at her, saying he had never waited for anyone like this. They argued as usual, but after a brief commotion, Goria handed Tam a hairdryer to dry his hair, and when he realized she meant it, he immediately took it off his head. Goria felt he looked more handsome than he did before, and she saw his childish and playful nature, which she had never witnessed during their time at school. After that, Tam took Goria to a restaurant, but she realized the food was very expensive, so she was hesitant. However, he told her he was hungry and would pay for it. Surprisingly, they both got locked in the restaurant together. Then Tam began to feel weak and got sick because he was waiting for the rain. This made Goria take good care of him, and she told him to cancel his red card. After that, Tam, feeling exhausted, nodded off. The next day, a female staff member opened the door for Tam and Goria so they could quickly get outside. Afterward, Tam took Goria home and told her they would go out again, but Goria refused. When Goria returned home, she found out that some debt collectors wanted to take over their house because her father had borrowed a lot of money from them. Goria decided to go to the lender, who owned a large hotel where parties were held. She told him she would pay part of the debt, but the man told her she had to work at the club until she paid it off, assuring her that no one would harm her. However, immediately one of the customers made an attempt, so Goria quickly pushed him away and told the bouncer she was quitting and would bring the money as soon as possible. The next day, while at school, a video of Tam taking Goria home went viral. This led to rumors spreading around town that they were in a relationship. Goria tried to deny it, but Tam immediately stood in front of everyone. He said that it was true they were in a relationship, and he also stopped the red card as he had promised before. That night, Tam went to visit Goria's house, but her father scolded him for being there so late. However, when he learned Tam's name and recognized him as the same guy everyone saw on TV, he warmly welcomed him into their home. They prepared a special meal, and for the first time in his life, Tam felt the warmth of this family, and his heart was racing for Goria. When they went outside, Goria asked why he had come, and he told her he knew she was unwell and had come to bring her medicine. As usual, they started to argue, but the door broke and Goria almost fell, but Tam caught her, making her feel embarrassed, and she told him to let go. The next day, Goria was astonished to see pictures of herself circulating while she was at a club. Tam arrived there, looking shocked, and asked her how this had happened. Goria tried to say the photos were photoshopped, but eventually admitted the truth. She told Tam to listen to her, but he expressed his surprise that she was a girl who could be so naive. MJ and Kevin were trying to find out who had posted the pictures, while Tam felt a mix of sadness and anger at the club. Hannah was also at the club and brought Tam a drink with a pill mixed in. Tam took the cup immediately, and Hannah became just as she wanted, bringing him closer. At the same time, Kevin went to the club where Goria usually hung out. When the club owner realized Tam was part of F4, he convinced Hannah that she was the one who took the pictures. That same day, Hannah stayed in a hotel room where Tam was also staying nearby, ignoring calls from her friends that were coming through on her phone. She then sent a message to her friends, telling them to bully Goria again. The next morning, Goria was surprised to see that the students were bullying her again, and they were using her friend's scooter. On the other hand, when Tam woke up, he saw Hannah trying to leave with him, but he confronted her, asking why she was doing this. Even though she knew he liked his friend Goria, she told him that no one had ever cared for her like Goria did. Because of this, she claimed her feelings for him were valid, saying they had been classmates since childhood, and she had liked him for a long time. But he never noticed her because she wasn't pretty, so she had undergone plastic surgery to look beautiful and transferred to his school to be around him, but Goria had ruined all her plans. She also told him that she had made her father cut off Goria's father because she once showed him photos of Goria at the club. Despite still thinking about Goria, Tam angrily told Hannah that he had done everything for her because he loved her deeply. Then he apologized to Hannah for what he had done before, but at that moment, he was very much in love with Goria, and she could never be like Goria, no matter what she did. Hannah screamed and tried to scratch her face, but Tam grabbed her hand to prevent her from hurting herself. He also told her to focus on her life and love herself instead of trying to harm herself. Returning to Goria, the students had burned her friend's scooter without caring about her cries for help. Even the girls who had hated her before began to feel sympathy, realizing the situation had gone too far. After one of the students tried to hit her, Tam caught his hand and hit him back. Then, while holding Goria's hands, he apologized for not being able to protect her, causing Goria to start crying heavily. Afterward, Tam took Goria to his house and began to treat her wound, then confessed his love and told her she was the first girl to capture his heart in his whole life. Then Tam asked if she would allow him to be her boyfriend. Goria, half asleep, nodded her head, and Tam thought she had agreed, feeling immense happiness. The next day, Goria woke up to find Tam bringing her new clothes and a few scooters for her to choose from. Goria immediately called him and told him she didn't want anything, but Tam insisted that he was doing this to punish the students who bullied her, but she had to take the scooter because her friend owned it and wanted it back. After Goria arrived at school, she saw Hannah in front of her and told her she would never forgive her for what she had done, wishing her happiness at the new school she was transferring to. But Hannah, without responding, walked away. Then Goria found a message she had left, expressing her regret for her actions. Thus, she began to cry, but after some time, Tam appeared and announced to the whole school that anyone who got close to his friend Goria would be punished. Goria was surprised and asked when she had become his friend, to which Tam replied that he had asked her yesterday to be his girlfriend. But Goria told him she was just sleeping and didn't remember any of that. They started to argue, but their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of Rin, who had just returned from a short trip. Tam told Rin that Goria had become his girlfriend, and Rin was very happy for them. Then Tam mentioned that he had called her many times but she hadn't answered. Goria explained that her phone had broken. In a fit of frustration, Tam bought Goria a new phone, but he was still bombarding her with messages. Then her friend asked them to go out together to create a beautiful atmosphere. Goria then called Tam to ask if they could go out together, but he was angry because she had delayed responding to his messages. After some back and forth, he made her apologize and agree to go out with him. Once Tam saw her, he shyly complimented her on her beautiful clothes, and then he met her lovable friend who seemed very playful. A little later, Tam stepped out to answer a phone call, and he overheard his friend talking, saying that his girlfriend wouldn't come out with him. But when he saw Goria, he felt that she looked much better, and it appeared she was coming out for him. Tam became very angry and punched the guy in the face, but Goria arrived just then and defended Tam. Afterward, Tam explained how things had happened, but Goria told him he would never change. He loved the trouble, and she hated it because of that. When Tam saw that she wasn't giving him a chance to explain himself, he angrily left. The next day, Goria saw the news that Mira had gotten married, and she rushed to Rin. When Tam saw her, he called to apologize, but she didn't answer. Then Goria reached Rin, feeling sad. Rin told her he was happy for Mira, but felt burdened by his job, so he left her to find someone better. He then felt worthless. However, Goria cried and told him not to speak of himself like that because he was important to her as he always helped her. If it hadn't been for him, she would never have been friends with Tam. Then Rin hugged Goria while she cried, but he didn't know that Tam saw them. Tam angrily started hitting students who weren't doing anything, believing Goria had been bullied last time, which made her angry at Rin. After that, Tam told everyone angrily that Rin would no longer be part of F4. Goria tried to talk to him, but he angrily told her there was nothing else to discuss, while Goria followed him, stating that she hadn't done anything wrong. If he was angry at her, it wasn't right for Rin to punish her. Tam was upset because Goria kept defending Rin. Then he yelled at her to tell her that she hated Rin. Goria couldn't do that, so Tam sadly told her it didn't matter, because she would never choose him anyway. Tam fell into a state of disappointment, and Goria felt the same. He locked himself in his room and refused to talk to anyone. On the other hand, Rin took Goria outside to get some fresh air, but all day they talked about Tam. Afterward, Goria and Rin went to the market to meet her friend and Kevin. Then her ex-boyfriend joined them, telling Kevin that it was clear that F4 only liked poor girls, just like Tam did. Goria, hearing this, angrily shouted that her ex shouldn't call her stupid because he could never be that. When Rin saw this, he realized for the first time that Goria liked Tam, so he called them to meet at school. He was surprised when Tam told him that Goria liked him. Rin apologized for what he had done and didn't want their long friendship to end because of Goria. Then Rin told him that he was right in saying he wouldn't argue with Goria anymore because she liked him. Rin wanted to take a break when he needed it and then leave since she was an easy girl to get and not his type. When Tam heard this, he was shocked and firmly warned Rin not to speak about Goria like that ever again and not to dare come close to her again. If he did, he would regret it. Then Rin confessed that he loved her, and Tam shouted back that he loved her too and didn't want anyone getting close to her, even if he, Tam, didn't like her. At that moment, Goria tried to reach out to him sadly and sent him a message apologizing, but he replied that he was currently at school. Afterward, Rin sat on the roof, exhausted, and laughed happily because he realized that Tam loved Goria. He then told Tam that he had done all this to confess his feelings and that he wouldn't say he didn't care about her anymore. He also said he wouldn't stop talking about her and wanted to go to the market to announce in front of everyone that Goria was Tam's girlfriend. Tam was very happy and stood up to hug Rin, but Goria arrived just then and saw him hurt. She began to panic and worry, but Tam assured her he was fine. Then Tam sat with Goria and told her that when she was treating his injuries, he had never felt such kindness from anyone like her. Instead, he had grown up with neglect and cruelty, becoming the man behind this family. But since he met her, she had become the only one not afraid of him. She taught him he was wrong and that he could change completely. Then Tam told her he loved her, and Goria said the same. Afterward, Tam took her to the place where the students had been bullied and locked the door, telling her that no one else would be brought there and that the game with the red card had ended. The next morning, Goria returned home feeling happy, and when she opened the door, she saw Tam's mother waiting inside. Then his mother told her that she would give her the money she wanted, but first, she had to stay away from her son. As it seemed, Tam's mother did not like Goria and was pushing her away from their home. After that, we see Goria's family discussing their plans to move to their hometown, where they want to start working. Goria also begins to look for a job so she can cover her school expenses. On the other hand, Tam goes to his mother and tells her that he knows what she did to poor Goria, insisting that he won't abandon her, no matter what difficulties he faces. Tam then goes to Goria and tells her that he has bought a house nearby where they can live together and he will take care of her. However, this arrangement becomes complicated as Goria finds herself taking care of things since Tam is not very good at household chores. Shortly after, a boy named Tage approaches Goria, and we learn that he had helped her before when she was on the street. Tage tells her that he knows she needs a job and offers to help her find one. At the same time, Goria is celebrating Tam's birthday, and Tam invites her to the party. While at the party, Tam's mother encounters Goria and asks how she had the courage to come to her house. Goria responds that she does everything for her son. Then she steps out to play with Tam. Tam's mother, very angry, comes out to the stage and announces that her son will marry a girl named Lita. Meanwhile, Lita, running in, unexpectedly confronts Goria, and upon hearing Tam's mother's words, she is shocked because she didn't know about this entire plan. Then Tam approaches his mother, asking if she is aware of how wrong this is. The next day at school, the girls mock Goria because Tam is marrying someone else. Furious, Goria storms onto the rooftop and begins to shout, as is her custom. This time, Tali hears her and speaks to her with strong words of support. When Goria returns home, she finds Tam, who confirms that he is preparing for his wedding because his mother has decided it. Then Lita comes to Goria, taking her shopping, and gives her an outfit to change into, replacing the one Goria had ripped on the day they met. Afterward, they return to Lita's house, but Goria doesn't tell her anything about her life, except that she is Tam's friend. The next day, Tam tells Goria that his father has died. While attending Tam's father's funeral, Goria sees Tam's family and recognizes they are wealthy, feeling out of place as a poor girl. She goes to the balcony and meets Rin, who asks where Tam is. Goria tells him that Tam loves her and will fight for her love. Meanwhile, Lita is also with Rin, telling him that Goria is not just a friend and he loves her very much. At the same time, Lita feels upset that he doesn't love her and thinks Goria is deceiving her. Then Lita approaches Goria and tells her that Tam didn't love her at first, but now he is angry because he loves her. Goria is very angry at this remark. That same day, Tali meets Goria and tells her that he has found a job for her to work alongside him. Meanwhile, when Tam learns that Lita has told Goria everything, he goes to confront her and tells Goria that he is going to marry that girl to please his mother, but Goria screams at him, accusing him of loving her. Before Tam can respond to her, a group of soldiers arrives with weapons. The next day at school, Goria sees Lita smiling at Tam and decides to leave, but Tam pushes Lita away, shouting at her about what she is doing. The girls at school see Tam spending time with his girlfriend and begin to mock Goria, but this time Tali helps her, and they both head to their new jobs together. That day, Lita takes Tam shopping, and while they are at the mall, Tam sees Goria with Tali. He approaches her to talk since he hasn't seen her all day, but Tali tells him not to come near. Tam becomes very angry, but Goria reminds him that she saw him with Lita that morning. Tam is taken aback by her words, and Goria leaves with Tali, which angers Tam further. When he tries to confront them, he remembers the promise he made to Goria not to fight. However, when Goria returns, Tage pretends that Tam hit him. Goria scolds Tam for being selfish, accusing him of not caring about her struggles while he is having fun with Lita. She declares that she will fight to find a job, while he is just playing around with Lita. She then cuts ties with him, leaving him confused. The next day, Goria finds the F4 card in her locker and is shocked by what Tam has done to her. Then the students begin to bully her again, but as usual, Rin comes to save her, calling Kevin to check the CCTV cameras. Kevin and MJ discover that Tage had placed the card there. Just before they can tell Rin, someone hits Rin on the head, and Goria is also abducted. On the other hand, Tam is at a party when he receives a message from the person responsible for the abduction, prompting him to rush to Goria. When Goria opens her eyes, she finds herself tied up and with Tage, who tells her that his plan for revenge against Tam is working because Tam treated his friend so poorly that he ended up in the hospital. Then he asks for her help, but Goria screams that Tam has changed. At that moment, Tage tells her that the past cannot be forgotten. Then Tam arrives, shouting Goria's name. Tage orders his friends to beat up Tam. Tam asks Tage why he is doing this, and Tage explains that his closest friend is being bullied because of what Tam has done at school. Therefore, he wants to take revenge on him. Tam apologizes, admitting he was wrong, and begs Tage to leave Goria alone. Tage, who had not initially planned to hurt Goria, begins to beat Tam badly. Goria screams for him to stop, but he refuses. He then grabs a chair, intending to hit Tam, but Goria manages to free herself and save Tam from being hurt. When Tage sees this, he remembers his friend who used to defend him when they were younger, so he sits down, starting to cry, while Tam comforts Goria, calling her name. When Goria wakes up, she finds herself in the hospital and is told that Tam is in critical condition. She rushes to his room and sees the F4 group there, all crying, leading her to believe that Tam has died. She begins to cry heavily, shouting that she loves him and apologizing for leaving him. Then Tam opens his eyes and tells her that he loves her too, and Goria realizes that all of this was a prank he played on her. Angered, she starts to hit him. Meanwhile, Lita was outside hearing everything. She threw the flowers she was holding into the trash and left. Rin later visited the hospital where Tage was recovering from his injuries, and he saw Tage there. Rin apologized for the trouble he had caused his friend, but he insisted he would never forgive Tam. Rin told him that Tam had apologized to his friend and that they had all changed. From now on, no one would bully anyone anymore. After that, Lita approached her parents with Tam by her side, telling them that Tam was a bad person who treated her poorly. Tam was surprised by her words, especially when he heard her asking her father to cancel their engagement. Lita then decided to travel, and Goria accompanied her to the airport. Lita apologized to Goria, calling her a good friend before she left. On the other hand, Goria visited Tam, who was giving her a beautiful necklace he had chosen for her, unaware of his mother's plans. Goria returned home to find everything being destroyed. At that moment, Tam rushed in, calling for his mother, who informed him that the battle had begun. She had locked all his bank accounts and credit cards, forcing him to move to Rin's house. Meanwhile, Goria was with her friend, who was selling flowers, and she gave her a bouquet to take home. With the help of her friends, they set up a small, beautiful room. Tam then told Goria that his mother was fighting for the love he had for her, and Goria revealed that she loved him deeply as well. But the next day, Tam's mother bought out the flower shop, destroying everything he had worked for. Goria couldn't stand to see her loved ones suffering because of her, so she confronted Tam's mother, telling her that she could no longer fight against a heartless woman and asked her to return her friend's shop. In return, Goria agreed to Tam's mother's suggestion that she end her relationship with Tam and that they leave the city. Goria had no choice but to accept this, and she left to tell Tam, saying that it was over between them. When Tam asked why, she lied, saying she had taken money from his mother. Tam didn't believe her, knowing her too well to think she could do something like that, but Goria, showing great sorrow, insisted that this plan had been set long ago and that she was deceiving him to get the money. She told him she hated him. Tam was heartbroken and fell to the ground, crying. At that moment, Goria returned the necklace he had given her, but Tam threw it away and left. Meanwhile, Goria prepared to leave the city, sitting sadly and reflecting on the necklace. Just then, she picked it up after Tam had left. A year passed, and Tam became a successful businessman, managing his ventures well, while F4 members were searching for Goria everywhere. Finally, Rin found information about her. He learned that she was in their hometown, living with her family and struggling with financial problems. Rin went to Tam to tell him everything, but Tam insisted that the girl was using him for money, and Rin pointed out that if she had left him for that reason, it was why she was now poor. Meanwhile, Goria faced creditors trying to seize her home, but Rin arrived and paid off the debt. Goria was overjoyed to see Rin and, while crying, asked about Tam's condition. Rin informed her that Tam hadn't found anyone since her departure. Then Rin showed Goria a video of Kevin and MJ, who were urging Tam to marry someone for business reasons and to fall in love again, to forget the past. However, Tam was heartbroken and began to cry, saying he could never forget Goria, especially when he realized she hadn't taken any money from his mother. He confessed that he loved Goria deeply and couldn't live without her. Upon seeing this video, Goria cried and decided to follow Rin to see Tam. Meanwhile, Tam was in an important meeting, but when he heard that Goria had arrived, he rushed to her side, only to be attacked by one of his enemies. Everyone rushed to the hospital, filled with worry, but fortunately, Tam did not die. He woke up with no memory of what happened. His mother seized this opportunity, locking him away at home to keep him from meeting Goria again. On the other hand, Goria stood outside his house pleading with Tam's mother to let them meet just once. She asked why she treated her son so cruelly. Suddenly, Tam shouted from inside, telling Goria to get away from his mother. He didn't recognize her presence, wanting her to leave, but Goria handed him the necklace he had given her when they first fell in love. When Tam saw the necklace, he finally remembered Goria. At that moment, for the first time, his mother felt remorse for what she had done to her son. Goria then told Tam to follow her. He ran after her, crying and confessing that he remembered everything. He promised he would never leave her again. They embraced, and together they took a picture to share on social media, surprising everyone and celebrating their love. The series ends with Goria happily sharing her story about Rin, Kevin, and MJ, who changed her life, and finally revealing Tam, the one person she loved more than anyone in the world. Here is the end of the drama. Subscribe for more videos like this one and type in the comment the next drama you would like.